Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Caru News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is not only current but very relevant. The topic is advantages of deemed universities. But before I will go to the main topic, I would like to inform you that today the world is observing International Day of Persons with Disabilities. December 3rd is an International Day of Persons with Disabilities promoted by the United Nations since 1992. It has been observed with varying degrees of success around the planet. The observance of the day aims to promote an understanding of disability issues and mobilize support for the dignity, rights, and well-being of. One moment, please. Dr. Agrawal, just mute yourself.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. The observance of the day aims to promote an understanding of disability issues and mobilize support for the dignity, rights, and well-being of persons with disabilities. It also seeks to increase awareness of gains to be derived from the integration of persons with disabilities in every aspect of political, social, economic, and cultural life. It was originally called International Day of Disabled Persons until 2007. Today, the world population is over 7 billion people, and more than 1 billion people, or approximately 15% of the world's population, live with some form of disability. 80% live in developing countries like India. Each year of the day focuses on a different issue. The theme of IDPD this year is leadership and participation of persons with disabilities toward an inclusive, accessible, and sustainable post-COVID-19 world. Media conference with Lal Goel hopes that by observing this day, more and more awareness will be created to support for the dignity, rights, and well-being of persons with disabilities. Today, India is celebrating Advocates Day. On December 3rd, every year, the lawyer community of India celebrates Advocates Day. The day marks the birth anniversary of Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the first president of India, who also was a very eminent lawyer. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was born on December 3, 1884. Having graduated from his school, he studied at the Presidency College in Calcutta and the University of Calcutta. Initially, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was a science student. In 1907, he completed his MA in economics and began teaching. In 1909, Dr. Rajendra Prasad decided to pursue law studies. He completed his bachelor in law in 1910 and passed his master's in law in 1915, receiving a gold medal. The following year, Dr. Rajendra Prasad joined the High Court of Bihar and Odisha. He also practiced law in the city of Bhagalpur. Dr. Rajendra Prasad's career as lawyer was quite lucrative, but in 1920, he decided to retire in order to aid the independence movement. Nevertheless, in 1937, he completed his doctorate in law, receiving a degree from Allahabad University. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected the first president of India in 1950 following the adoption of the Constitution. Media conference with Lal Goel wishes you all a very happy Advocates Day. Now coming to the main topic, advantages of deemed universities. A university is an institution of higher education and research which awards academic degree in several academic disciplines. Universities typically offer both undergraduate and postgraduate programs. The word university is derived from the Latin word, which roughly means community of teachers and scholars. The first university was created in Europe by Catholic Church monks. The University of Bologna, founded in 1088, is the first university in the sense of being a high degree awarded institute, having independence from the ecclesiastic schools through, although conducted by both clergy and non-clergy, using the word university, universitas, which means coined at its foundation, issuing secular and non-secular degrees, grammar, rhetoric, logic theology, canon law, notarial law, etc. Universities in India are recognized by the University Grants Commission UGC, which draws its power from the University Grants Commission Act 1956. In addition, 15 professional councils are established controlling different aspects of accreditation and coordination. In India, a new designation deemed universities has been created for institutions of higher education that are not universities but work at a very high standard in a specific area of study. An institution of higher education other than universities working at a very high standard in a specific area of study can be declared by the central government on the advice of University Grants Commission as an institution deemed to be university. Institutions that are deemed to be university enjoy the academic status and the privileges of a university. Though this provision, many schools that are commercial in nature and have been established just to exploit the demand for higher education have sprung up. Deemed university or deemed to be university is a status of autonomy granted by the Department of Higher Education on the advice of the UGC under Section 3 of the UGC Act. As of 31st March 2021, UGC lists 125 institutes which were granted the deemed to be university status. According to this list, the first institute to be granted deemed university status was Indian Institute of Science, which was granted the status on 12th May 1958. In many cases, the same listing by the UGC covers several institutes. For example, the listing for Homi Bhabha National Institutes covers the Institute of Mathematical Sciences, the Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, and other institutes. The concept of deemed university was conceived by the UGC to evolve an educational structure of the institutions which excelled in their sphere of higher education. These institutions had the potential of a university but were still lacking in some areas as to qualify themselves as a full-fledged university. The rationale was that these institutions could breathe easy and evolve their course structure and syllabi in the wake of new academic challenges. A deemed university is quite different from other universities. It operates under the purview of the guidelines laid down by the UGC, but it has a degree of autonomy that other universities seldom have. The autonomy that a deemed university enjoys is across multiple aspects. The most important of these aspects are autonomy in course where design. A deemed university has the autonomy to design its own courses and methods for imparting education to its students. This is a big benefit because it means the deemed university is not bound by any of the guidelines that other state universities follow for designing courses. That gives it the ability to design courses that are path-breaking and radically different from other universities. It has the freedom to adopt the latest teaching methodologies and scale up on par with some of the top universities worldwide. Administrative autonomy. The autonomy that a deemed university enjoys is not limited just to courseware development and teaching methodology. It can set its own rules and regulations and not follow the rules of any of the other universities. Autonomy in awarding degrees. A deemed university can award its own degrees to its students. This is a great opportunity for a deemed university to increase its brand value among the student community and also the parents of these students across India. A deemed university must also have facilities to allow students to pursue a career in research. That is why you will find a number of deemed universities offering some of the best research facilities in the country, facilities that you will not get in many of the other universities, including state and private universities. Deemed universities are also covered under the ambit of Right to Information RTI Act. Anyone can ask for information about a deemed university under this act. A deemed university has to file information about its activities with the UGC. This is a requirement as per the autonomy they enjoy in designing courses, considering changes in the science, technology, and changing demands for skill in job market. A number of these deemed universities also come with a high-tech research facilities which provides aspiring students to continue to pursue specialization opportunities in niche areas. Of course, there is a flip side to all this as well. There are few deemed universities that may take advantage of the autonomy offered, where their policies and processes set by these universities may not be keeping the best interest of the student. There has been a lot of buzz in the media in recent times about this, and the result has impacted all of the universities being looked negatively. It is important for students to perform research and seek advice while deciding to choose from deemed universities. Some of the key considerations one need to pay attention to while choosing deemed universities for higher education are history, founders, if the curriculum offered are current and future-proof, industry affiliation and infrastructure available, etc. These institutions were examined rigorously by multiple processes which seldom left scope for flattering in the findings of the examiners. Several high-level autonomous bodies like the All India Council for Technology, Technical Education, AICTE, the Medical Council of India, MCI, the Dental Council of India, DCI, the Bar Council of India, BCI, and scores of other autonomous bodies were part of the central government's scheme of inspection committees for approval of such professional courses. Therefore, it may not be misconstrued that 125 odd universities sprang up overnight and became the bone of contention between those who stood the uprightness and others who took this task rather in a bohemian style, the perception which has usually been created. Most of these institutions were significantly in demand due to the heavy rush of students for talent growth and matched the market demand for employment. During the 1990s, there was a spurt in demand in areas that suited the economic reforms and a tendency turned towards professional employment in the spheres of medical and engineering education, business and hotel management, housing, tourism, etc. Inevitably, higher education became part of this industrial growth, hence an industry in itself. These demands began multiplying and government agencies were hard put to respond to such needs. The deemed to be universities became the total ready to respond to such demands and their growth increased. These institutions were not exactly the same as the conventional universities in terms of research output or characteristics in innovativeness. They were meant to be a quick recipe for short-term courses or vocational courses and did marvelously well in those areas. In many cases, these universities stood aloft in comparison to other institutions. Their infrastructure, lab facilities, libraries, the quality of classrooms and facilities have been have been worthy of mention compared to the pathetic state of affairs in state universities and to some extent in some central universities. The deemed to be universities in recent months have acquired the misnomer of being damned universities. Recent moves by the HRD ministry in this regard have raised doubts about the efficacy of these institutions. The Yashpal Committee and other experts associated with policy matters in higher education are also not comfortable with the system. As a result, the stakeholders of deemed universities, as also the student cadres of institutions, along with others, have been confused. Now, to discuss this very, very important, relevant topic today, the advantages of deemed universities, we have two very knowledgeable, experienced, those who are authority in this subject, or I will say in this field, and both are the educators. Panelists are with me. I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran. Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran is the former visiting professor IIM Lucknow and University of Texas at Dallas, USA. He is the senior director of Don Bosco Group, Bengaluru. He is the director of Aldo Private Limited, New Delhi. He has done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad in 1980, although he has done his graduation in 1971. He did PhD in 1986. He started teaching and researching business and entrepreneurship since 1984. And after his graduation, he has done the agriculture graduation from Pantnagar University also. He published research papers in reputed journals, international seminars, proceedings, and chapters in books of readings. He started academic administration phase as dean in 1997, rising to executive director, controlling management and engineering institutes in 2007. Her Highness, Governor of Karnataka, nominated Dr. Saran to the Senate of Bangalore University in recognition of his distinguished academic contributions. He was visiting professor to University of Texas at Dallas from 2012 to 2019. He also visited Washington State University and President University Indonesia on the invitation of the Dean Faculty of Business in 2018. He innovated and implemented a unique model to double the turnover with existing infrastructure in one accounting year. He is co-promoter of Institute of Family Business Management Society. He is honorary director of NCR Delhi-based high-tech B2B digital startup. He is also co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran on our show. Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran, today the topic is advantages of deemed universities. Now we have seen that India, which is having one of the maximum universities in the world, approximately 1,000 universities, and we have seen different types of universities. Although the views of few of the people says that our education is so good or quality of education is so good, that's why 6 top MNCs of the world is headed by the CEOs, Indian CEOs who had their graduation at least in India, which include recently the Mr. Agarwal of Twitter. But the other view is that generally all these graduates have taken further education abroad. They have taken the citizenship there, and they have been trained there, they worked there, and then they reached on the top. That was the other view. Another view is, if our education is so good, then why almost 6 lakhs people have left the citizenship the last year, which the figures have been recently given in the Lok Sabha, and few hundred have joined our citizenship. Third view is that if our education quality is so good, then why no Nobel laureates are being produced in India? So there are lots of ifs and buts, but definitely because of this new things, that is the deemed university or deemed to be university, we would like to analyze their advantages, even some shortcomings. So we would like to know from you the advantages of deemed universities. Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal Goel, for inviting me to this very significant, momentous topic. You gave a very nice, balanced introduction. As we notice, the history of deemed universities in the countries is more than 60 years old. You noted Indian Institute of Science was the first deemed university in the country. And since then, we have added a few more. As you noticed, I started teaching in the year 1985. It was a private large business house, one of the 3 largest business houses in the country. It was run by a trust. When I joined, we were an autonomous college of engineering in Ranchi. Most of you will know, but I'll rather present in a succinct way that a engineering college or a general college starts as a not independent but dependent institution. So if you start a college in India, you will have to find a university to which you will link yourself. We call it affiliated. Then what happens is, if your quality improves quite a lot, then the university to which you are affiliated grants you certain powers. For example, you may set your own question papers for certain part of the evaluation of your students. And you can do your own evaluation and send the marks to the university. And these colleges are called constituent colleges. For example, where you are sitting in Moodbitri, Mangalore University will have a certain number of constituent colleges. Total, they have 212 colleges under the aegis of Mangalore University. 5 of them are constituent colleges. So they are, very distinguished institutions. Rest of them are called affiliated colleges. When I started in Birla Institute of Technology, we were autonomous college. Previous to that, we used to be affiliated to Ranchi University. Then, in 1986 December, management decided to go for deemed university status. The paperwork was done. The Ministry of HRD and University Grants Commission sent their experts. They visited the campus. They stayed on the campus. I was made coordinator of that visit, fortunately, though I was very young, just an assistant professor. They had lots of points to clarify. We did that one there, and happy to tell you, in 1986 December, we were granted, Birla Institute of Technology, Mesra Ranchi, was granted the deemed university status. The moment we became deemed university, certain advantages followed. And I will discuss those specifically, both in the larger general framework and with a specific experience we had with the deemed university institution. To understand the advantages, let us remember a few things. Some of the questions that you asked, why it is that 6 lakh people give up citizenship, why it is that the leading high-tech company CEOs had at least a graduation from India and then went abroad for higher education and rose to that level. Those questions will be understood when we see these points which I'm going to bring up to you. First and foremost, the regulation which Ministry of Human Resource Development, now it is called Ministry of Education, and regulatory bodies like All India Council of Technical Education or University Grants Commission or state departments of education are placing, we must appreciate one thing. The regulations are only the minimum which a university or institution has to deliver. Mark my words. These regulations only say that this is the minimum that will do. If syllabus is prescribed by the university, then it says these many topics in these many hours you have to teach. If they say there'll be 3 examinations, these are minimum 3 examinations you have, and so on, so forth. This is very important for us to understand in the longer framework. I'm emphasizing that because this is the core. Most people misunderstand that regulation is a constraining factor. It is only for those if you want to try to cut corners. If there is a honest, if there is sincere, if there is dedicated academician who is part of a deemed university, then these regulations are only the minimum. We should be looking at the advantages because we can go beyond this minimum. So this is the first point that we notice. Deemed university, many people say we have to file this report, we have to file that report. That is for compliance. And compliance is only for the minimum standard that we have to, because after all, certain standards, certain quality, certain trust is imposed into us for all the stakeholders. The students must get good quality education. The faculty must get good working conditions. The staff must get secure positions. And the deserving people must be awarded financially and non-financially in terms of career progressions. These are the areas where the Deemed University Act provides the minimum that we have to meet. But we don't have to stop at the minimum. So I'm very happy. Today's topic is advantages of the deemed university. And we will be thinking, once meeting the minimum, what more can we do? And Dr. Anand Mohan Agrawal is very perfect person to give us all the specific experiences. We'll hear from him. I will put some general points here. If you think, what are the four things a university is supposed to deliver to the stakeholders and to society and the country at large? The first thing is we must have very good syllabus of the subjects that we are teaching. We must have a rich collection of subjects that we are teaching, and we must be connected with the real world so that we haven't become backdated people. If some topics have been modified, if research has happened, new knowledge has come, then our content and our method must be keeping up to date. As we say, this is the first thing that university is required to do. Deemed university is also part of that. Then the second thing that we need to do is we must also provide platform opportunity for creating new knowledge. Now that is the function of research, and good quality research and good quality of publication, scholarly activities, conferences, seminars, dissemination, journals, publications, attending outside the system. All those things are second important function. The third thing is, you see, some universities are very prestigious because their standards are very high. The same student, if he goes to University X for a course, may get certain scholastic achievement, say 70% marks. You go to another university, which is having more strict standards of education, there you may just get 50% marks, and vice versa. So this is the third part. We call it evaluation. Some people call it assessment. This is generally neglected, but I will say that it is very crucial function. Evaluation, examination, assessment, whatever we call, is the most potential benefit advantage of the deemed research system which has been elected. I'll come and elaborate about this one a little bit later. But this is most important third function. The fourth one is very, very important. It is providing a base in this area where development can take place. For example, in Moodbidri, there is a college called Alvas. You and I went to their celebration for Diwali. 22,000 students approximately were present on that function. Now, when that large number of students are present, when democracy is there, then the local economy benefits tremendously. A large number of shops come up to cater to the needs of those people. A large number of recreational sources are required, and lot of transport opportunities come up, and so on and so forth. And you will see in many parts of India, Mudbidi not being only exception, Ranchi not being only exception, Pune, lovely area not being exception for symbiosis, the ones which I have been personally involved with. These are the four advantages of a deemed university system in summary. Now let us take one by one. I will begin with the examination system. We call it assessment. And I did some research, internet research, and what is academic assessment? Let me read a couple of lines from there. It says, academic assessment is the process. Process is a set of steps which gives evidence to understand and improve a student learning in academic programs. This is such a revolutionary thing. Very little understanding is there. We take examination as a headache. The professor thinks setting the question paper, grading the answer scripts is a burden. I also was part of that one for a long time. I thought it is very, very routine thing, bureaucratic thing. Nothing is gained. The time which I'm spending on the examination, it is so much routine, rote. Students hate it. the poorly performing students hate it all the more, and all those things are there. But notice what it is saying, that it is evidence to understand and improve a student learning in academic programs. I'll give you one personal example. In 1987, I had to teach a course called marketing management. After a month in BIT, I'm supposed to give a examination called quiz for 10 marks. There were 40 students in the class, and the highest they scored was 5.5, because I set a very hard paper, very, very hard paper. As a professor, I had the freedom. I used the freedom because we were deemed university in 87 anyway. So I had the freedom. I couldn't do it before deemed university, but now in 87, I could do it. I use that freedom as a professor. Now, the brightest student, when he gets 5.5 students out, marks out of 10 marks, you will realize, Mr. Goel, it is very shattering experience for the student. Almost his self-respect is gone with 5.5 marks out of 10. So that boy got three others, and they said, sir, your examination was not fair, and maybe you did not give us enough time to prepare. So if you give another examination, we will do better. I laughed. I said, no, 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 no. It is something like a standard international examinations. For example, GMAT is there for MBA admissions, GRE is there, SAT is there. These are standardized examinations. They follow a scientific method. And I am proud to tell you that my brother at IIT Kanpur taught me the value of assessment. I learned that from there. We have a very scientific method how to make sure that my questions of all the examination are of the order that 40 students will be naturally classified into A grade, B grade, C grade, D grade, and fail grade. It is very objective system in which I, as a teacher, don't control the destiny of the student. The student himself or herself controls the destiny. That is the objective evaluation system, and this is what I'm trying to say. This gives me an evidence to understand where are the opportunities for me to improve that a student who has scored 5.5 marks. In certain topics, the student had developed very good understanding. On the other hand, there were certain topics where, for one or reason or the other, the student did not dedicate his time, energy, discussion, opportunities, library time, classroom and outside the classroom discussion time. All those things he did not use and did not score well there. So, on their request, I set another objective paper and gave them. And they found exactly the same pattern happened. This time I made a little easier question paper. So what happened is the person who got 5.5 first time got 7.5 second time, but then everybody increased by 2 marks anyway. That was the overall difficulty level of the examination. So deemed university advantage comes here in summary in three places. I do research, applied research. Industry was present in Ranchi. You'll be very, surprised maybe if you don't know. The time I was there in Birla Institute of Technology, Mesra Ranchi, Ranchi was considered the city with highest density of professionals per 1,000 people. The MBAs, the engineers, the chartered accountants, the lawyers, the doctors in that city, the population was highest per 1,000 people. So that gave us an opportunity that we had a board of studies which had industry members, field members, and they said these topics are recent, add in your syllabus, teach it to them. And I'm very proud, once upon a time, even today, BIT is rated as one of the top 10 institutions in the country, deemed university. That is the advantage. That if we take advantage, if we utilize the opportunity, our curriculum goes up. And then research is the second important one. There is a lot of funding available. And if a deemed university is good, when Professor S.N. Mukherjee was there, very respected person, he did it. So it was such a college that he used to bring lots of grant money from central government and state government. and we had flourishing, you know, vibrant research system there. So that is new knowledge creation, the second advantage. And all other things said, hostels are there, economy is there, local economy grows, so much employment is created. So I think this gives you a bird's eye view to begin with. What are the major advantages and how we can take advantage of those by respective universities? I'll conclude by saying that all five fingers are not equal. So not all deemed universities are equal in the country. They are either suffering from poor promoters, the trust which promote them, rather than being visionary, they have, other agendas. The second can be they cannot find and retain talented, academic administrators, vice chancellors, registrar, deans, and other people. Then, advantages are wasted. To take advantage, the promoters, the trustees, because most deemed universities are owned by a trust, a society. So those people have to be magnanimous, generous in heart, and visionaries, really committed to the cause of education. No phony business here and there. They must find and respect good academic administrators, and they must have very healthy academic climate for good faculty to flourish there, begin their career, stay there, grow there, retire from there. So once these conditions are done, then all the advantages of the deemed university will be actually realities, not on paper, but actually there. And that is when we will be the kind of institutions as deemed university which will produce Parag Agrawal or Sundar Pichai and other people. That is it. Thank you for the opportunity. Once again, I am looking forward to hear from my friend, Professor Anand Mohan Agrawal. We were colleagues together 35, 38 years ago. That bond continues. That is again another advantage of a deemed university, giving you friends for life. And I'm so obliged that these advantages are there. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran. And I must give extra thanks to you because today you are joining from USA. And would like to give compliments. A beautiful Christmas tree we can see. It's a Christmas time now. What Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran has mentioned is very clearly, he says that there are lots of advantages of deemed to be university or deemed university. He gave his own experience working with the deemed university and in the Ranchi, the Birla Institute of Technology, and he mentioned how they were giving the freedom to set up the news examination paper, how they try to increase the standard of the curriculum, and that is only possible if they have that liberty, which is there available in the deemed university or deemed to be university, which is not available in affiliated colleges, or because there they are giving the set papers for everyone. Secondly, he says these universities are not only benefiting the faculty or the students, but they are benefiting the society at large. Now, this is a very, very important point. He says wherever such type of universities are set up, so much advantages for that nearby area because of the number of students, number of the faculties, and that's why according to him, and he has given example of Morbidri's Alvas College. Yes, I know almost 60% to 70% economy of the entire Morbidri depends on Alvas institutions because of the number of students, number of faculties, and number of programs which they organize annually, which give lots of revenue to this particular small taluka. Now it has become taluka. So one can understand the advantages, which according to him is tremendous. He also mentioned, yes, there are laws, regulations, but the regulations are required because you have to, government also wants that some certain standard has to be maintained once you are a deemed university. And that's why, according to Professor Saran, to complain about that so much paperwork, it is a routine thing. It's a one has to do, but according to him, this is a minimum requirement which the government has set up, or the UGC has set up. you have to excel to that, you have to go beyond that. And one very important point, according to Professor Saran, is the research. Because in India, we have seen the research quality is very poor. We all, whatsoever we say, but we know that the research, the copy, cut and paste is the word today. And that's why very, it's a meager percentage. If I will say approximately only 2% our papers have been quoted internationally. So one can understand one side how much population we have, how many we are the largest maximum universities in the world, but still only 2% of our research papers have been quoted. So, but he says that the deemed universities, many of them have the best quality of research facilities, because the tremendous amount is available. And especially he says his own experience at Ranchi is that so much money is there, and that's why they have the liberty to see to it that the standard of research to be world class. And according to him, yes, there are black sheeps in everywhere, few of the, but he says that depends on the promoters, the trust or the society, how they are running it. If their motive is to impart standard good education, definitely the deemed university is a one of the best thing to happen in India. But if their motives are different, then definitely the deemed university is spoiling. They are spoiling the name of the entire deemed university community. But according to him, they are very few. Maximums are doing well, like Indian Institute of Science and Technology. We know one of the best and the premier institute in India is that, and that is also a deemed to be university. Thank you very much, Professor Sudhi Saran, for explaining very, very clearly to our viewers. And I'm sure to the viewers, and especially the parents and the students who are on the verge to get the admission, will consider that what are the advantages, because media try to hype only the negativity of a particular system, but they forget that there are lots of advantages, there are lots of things which the deemed university or any system is doing. So instead of only taking out, yes, one media should come out with the shortcomings, but only highlighting the shortcomings will not serve the purpose to the society. We have to see the positive side also. And according to Professor Saran, the positive side is far more than the negative side. Thank you very much, Professor Saran. Definitely, when I will come next in the next round, I will ask few questions to you. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. Anand Mohan Agrawal. Professor Dr. Anand Mohan Agrawal is the Pro Vice Chancellor of United University Prayagraj. He has 3 decades working experience spreads across a span of almost 3 decades, wherein he has been at the important positions of reputed institutions. He is an institutional builder and has established extension centers of BIT Mesra in India and Middle East. At GLA University, he established a university polytechnic and is continuously guiding the university on the path of excellence and quality education before he joined this present United University Prayagraj. And the GLA University is at Mathura. A PhD from ISM Dhanbad, he completed his graduation, BSc Engineering Mechanical, as well as MBA from BIT Mesra. He started his career from ISM Dhanbad in 1984. Then he moved to AICTE as director in 1995. Further, he joined IGNOU as professor in 1999, and then back to AICTE as advisor 1 in 2000. In 2001, he came to his alma mater, namely BIT Mesra, where he went on to become dean. He joined at BIT International Center, Muscat as director and dean in 2005. Continues his progression, Professor Agrawal joined OMZEST, Oman as General Manager, Knowledge Initiatives, wherein he served for 2 years before joining GLA University Mathura as Pro Vice Chancellor and Director in October 2012. He left GLA University Mathura in October 2021. He has guided 10 PhD scholars and has written 1 book. He has been member of various committees, including NAC and NBA. He has more than 35 publications in reputed journals and has been awarded Best Paper Award twice by Indian Institutions of Industrial Engineering. Dr. Agarwal was a member of editorial board of IIIE Journal and also member of Board of Examination IIIE. He has been awarded Performance Excellence Award by IIIE at Dubai in 2015 and Professor J.M. Mahajan Award in 2017. Welcome, Professor Dr. A.M. Agarwal on our show. Professor Agarwal, you have heard what Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran has spoken. Now, you are working in a deemed university, I presume, and you are working as a pro vice chancellor. And you have worked earlier also in many of the uh, deemed universities. You have also worked in the controlling arm of the government, and that is the AICTE, where you used to, the AICTE, which is controlling the deemed university by inspecting, recognition, affiliation, whatsoever, whatnot they are doing. So we would like to know your views about the advantages of deemed university. Professor Dr. Anand Mohan Agarwal, please.
Thank you, Mr. Lal Goel, for giving my introduction and also giving me this opportunity today to discuss about the importance and advantages of deemed university. I have the privilege of working in two deemed universities, Indian School of Mines, Dhanbad, and Birla Institute of Technology, Mesra, Ranchi. ISM Dhanbad has recently become IIT, so it has come out of deemed university status. It is now an IIT. I had also the opportunity of working in a central university, that is Indira Gandhi National Open University. And I have now, since last 9+ years, I have been working in state private university. As you all know that in India, we have different types of universities and colleges. There are central universities, about 50+. There are Institute of Eminence, all IITs, IIMs, NIT, triple ITs, IISR. They are around 110 or so. Then we have state universities, which are funded by the state governments. Then we have state private universities, which are enacted by the respective state assemblies, but they are funded privately. And of course, we have deemed to be universities. As you had said in your introduction in the beginning, that deemed to be universities were initially thought of to be in the niche area where very few institutes were there or demand was not very high. And the government thought that since they have achieved a level of excellence, so let's give them a status which was known as deemed to be university. And in the first 30-35 years, if you see the growth of deemed to be universities, it was very, very slow. It was only during the 1999 to 2005 that the private sector came to this deemed to be university purview. Earlier also, the deemed to be universities were given to private sector like Manipal, Thapar, Birla Institute of Technology, Pilani, Birla Institute of Technology, Mesra. But they were all given after a long history of their existence. But as I said, during 2000 to 2005, there was a floodgate opened and many private sector universities, colleges became deemed to be university. And then there were a lot of complaints, and Government of India set up a committee, and there were 44 of the deemed universities put under category C, and they were asked to improve, comply, and so on. The matter went up to the Supreme Court, and later on the decisions came, and the universities were allowed after they made certain minimum requirement, as Dr. Saran has already mentioned. And one development took place in this Supreme Court verdict that these deemed to be universities cannot write university in their name. What had happened that when these universities were given deemed to be university status, everyone started writing university, SRM University, VIT University. So they said, no, you are not an university, you're deemed to be an university. So you cannot write this university word in your name. So most of them removed, and even Indian School of Mines had written at one point of time as ISM University. So they went back to their original name, Indian School of Mines. So this were the historical development about the deemed to be universities. Now let's come to the comparison between the university and deemed to be university. What is the difference? See, the difference is that deemed to be universities are not enacted by Act of Parliament or Act of State Legislative Assemblies. They are given this status under Section 3 of UGC Act 1956. So UGC, on the basis of expert committee visit, interacting with students, faculty, verifying their infrastructure, placements, and other things, they give this status of deemed to be university. And these universities are expected to the minimum requirement that Dr. Saran was explaining and submit a compliance report to the UGC on a regular basis, so that there is a tap on their academic growth. But then there is no restriction on how far you can add the quality, how far you can add the research. And this gives a lot of freedom to the faculty and the administrator of that university, so-called deemed university, to design their course curriculum, to design their research areas, to design their growth pattern, to design and implement recent topics in their subjects, which is not possible in the case of central universities and not state universities, which are affiliating large number of colleges. In between, what happened that, as I was telling you, that many universities were put under observation by the UGC long back, around 10-15 years back. So many people then took a new path, which was known as the state-private university. Earlier, the states were not giving private universities. Even now, Maharashtra government is not giving state-private universities. But most of the states have now enacted the different acts. In between, what happened, I'm just giving some historical perspective because our viewer may like to know that Chhattisgarh government enacted a state-private university act, and they affiliated more than, they gave more than 100 such, within inverted comma, licenses to the people who did not have any infrastructure. And this matter again went to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court took a very, very harsh view, and it was made clear that every university must come under a separate act. It cannot be under a blanket act, and so on. And then they gave a complete governance mechanism that there should be a representative of state government, central government, UGC, this, that. As Mr. Lal has introduced, that I worked with All India Council for Technical Education during that period, from 95 to 2001. In between, I saw very closely this development. The positive side of the things were that India was growing very fast. The education opportunities were not available in the government sector. So many students were finding it very difficult to get admission into the government system. The government of India came up with regulations and act, and they said that let private participation be there. And all of us know that today more than 80% of the output of at the higher education level is in the private sector. The private promoters started investing into the infrastructure, into the labs, and they came up very nicely. But the challenge came up that where are the faculty members? Because the faculty members cannot be made overnight. So again, the government of India started early faculty induction program. They started giving a lot of MTech scholarships, PhD scholarship, and slowly and steadily, we have now a large number of pool of teachers who are doing very well. I will now restrict my discussion only to deemed university. At many places, when the colleges were converted into deemed university, the faculty members reacted and they said deemed means doomed. Because they thought that now the trust or the management will have no control from the government side. Earlier, the degree was given by affiliating university, the syllabus was designed by affiliating university, and so on. I will not say that they did not have proper concern. Yes, in some cases, it has been found that the management did not care for quality, management did not care for proper funding of research, and so on. But as we have been discussing, Dr. Saran also said, Mr. Lal also said, by and large, or if I say in terms of percentage, more than 90% people have been true to their profession. The growth, whatever we are seeing today, the number of placements that we are seeing today is tremendous. The deemed universities have contributed a lot. They have contributed a lot to the faculty pool, and they have also been very steadily growing in terms of their quality. If we take NIRF, National Institutional Ranking Framework, as a base or as a matter of comparison, we can see that there are now many deemed universities which are ahead of Institute of Eminence like IITs and NITs and so on. Vellore is one example. VIT is now considered as Institute of Eminence, which has been identified by Government of India, and they are being funded in hundreds of crores of rupees to augment their research facility, to augment their... There are many. I can take names of at least 25 such, Shastra in Madurai, then, sorry, Shastra in, what is that place? In Tamil Nadu, SRM, BIT Mesra, BIT Pilani, Manipal, Thapats. There are many who have done excellent after they have achieved their university status, because they are very, very futuristic in their outlook. The education administrators are aware that if they have to fight with the IITs or NITs, they need to raise their bar. Today, the faculty members are not feeling bad or not taking any other way. They are joining deemed universities, even leaving the government jobs, because their governance is also more or less like a government institution. Their incentive policies, their examination system, all are so well designed and well accepted that they are now competing greatly with the government institutions. The other advantage of deemed universities is that they can add new courses, they can add new ways to teach pedagogy, and also they can have collaborative research, collaboration from the foreign universities, collaboration from the foreign research organizations. So these are giving them a lot of advantage. The level playing field is now available. Earlier, we used to see that all the government funding is only going towards the IITs, NITs, and so on. But now government has opened up, and the new higher education council, which is being talked, will have a research innovation wing where they will be funding on an equal platform to the institutions, and their now they will not see their funding pattern. The advantage of having own syllabus design is a great advantage. I have been working in the state private university for last 9 years, as I said, and state private universities also enjoy the similar benefit that they can design their curriculum, syllabus. The constant interaction with the industry, their need, what is going to happen in next 3, 4, 5 years can always be included in my syllabus. I can add one subject, I can delete the other subject, I can offer as an elective, I can offer as a research topic. My faculty can decide, okay, like I'll say, I have some management background. Now blockchain is coming in a big way. All of you are now reading in the newspaper, listening in the TV about the crypto. I'm not sure whether crypto is a currency or
Dr. Agarwal, sorry, your network is weak. We can't hear properly. Disturbance is there. So I think your network is very weak. If any other device is connected with this network, please disconnect
no,
that
sir,
device.
I'm working. I'm on 4G. I'm on Airtel
But
4G.
it is very
So
okay. Now, yeah, go ahead because
let me see.
again.
Okay, I'm concluding because I have just 2 more points to say.
Yeah.
I will.
Please.
I hope you will hear. The other thing, as I was saying, that the faculty development is one of the very big issue that has been in India. That earlier the promoters were thinking that if I develop my faculty, they will leave me and go to a better college, better place. But it's not happening now. People are not going by the tag of the institution, rather they are going by the intent of the institution. If the intent of the educational administrators are good, they don't leave. They try to continue there. And the last thing which I wanted to say was that this type of healthy competition from the deemed universities to the government institutions is really giving us great result. Because nowadays, even the government has said to its institutions that you have to perform, then only you get the money. And the Higher Education Funding Authority has been established. The institutions are being asked that you take loan from them, of course, interest-free loan, but you have to repay them and you have to quarterly submit your progress report. So this is giving a very healthy competition, and I'm very happy that our education system is now maturing and we are attaining the status which I think will, in next few years or 1 or 2 decades, will make us comparable with North America and European universities. Our government is very serious. I know it. I have been participating in meetings. They have signed Washington Accord for NBA. We are now having a NIRF ranking. Our institutions are now participating in QS ranking because these are going to give us respect in the academic field. So once again, thanking the organizers and Mr. Lal Goel. I hope that if we have some time, we can have more discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Agrawal, for giving your views. And Professor Agrawal explained each and every details about the deemed to be university and being worked in the deemed to university. Two universities he has worked, and I want to be stand corrected that GLA University Mathura as well as United Universities, they are private universities, they are not deemed to be university. But what he says is that because he worked in AICT, he has seen very closely how the deemed to be universities worked, and there was a situation when one of the state government of Chhattisgarh, they come out with some regulations, on they pass some law, and by that 100 universities have come which were taken very seriously by the Supreme Court. And many times it happens that the cases have gone to Supreme Court and they have taken a very strong views. So according to Professor Agrawal, the advantages are far more than any disadvantage. Even says that even the faculty, good faculties are leaving the institutes of repute, whether central or state government, and they are joining the deemed to be universities because the intentions of many of the deemed to universities promoters are very good. They are providing good content, they are giving the free hands. So according to Professor Agrawal, the deemed to be universities is a boon for the country, and because there is a healthy competition going on between the state or the central universities versus the deemed to be university, it is improving the standard of education, and he is very hopeful. He says within a decade or so, Indian universities standard, deemed to be universities standard, education standard overall in India will be as competitive, as good as whether it's a US or UK or other places. Thank you very much, Professor Agrawal, for giving your very positive views about the deemed to be universities. Now my question goes, and I have to act as a devil's advocate. I would like to clearly mention initially, because otherwise, if we will be only talking of the advantages, the viewer should know the advantages and why the myths are there. There are so many myths are there in the media. Let's clarify from the horse's mouth today. So my question goes first to Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran. There is a myth that the deemed universities are only for rich, and they says that the deemed universities that are meant for the rich, the standard explanation is that most of these deemed universities charge extravagant fees for the courses they offer. The allegation is that they exploit the autonomy they enjoy compared to other universities to convert an educational institution from a knowledge dissemination enterprises to a commercial or business enterprises. What you say about this, Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran, please?
Uh, well, I think I'm in a very tight spot. The accusation is very valid. I personally never felt in academics why should the charges for the students be at a level which does not meet financial sensibility. And I think this is one area where a lot of people have to do a lot of soul searching. Normally, the rule of thumb used to be, when I started in academics, that a professor's pay will be 1/3 of what he commands in industry. Say, if a computer science assistant professor is there, if he went to work for a computer company, then his pay will be 3 times more than it is in the academics. Now, all those different pay commissions came in the government, you know that. Now, 7th pay commission and 8th pay commission is there. So government universities, state level, central level, their salaries went up, and they almost had similar kind of pay scales for bureaucratic community, IAS, IPS people. They all wanted their salary to be equal to the corporate pay scales. And that in the last 20-25 years has wreaked havoc, taken its toll. Now, I must also, since we are, addressing a large number of viewer community today through your program, and I take your program very seriously, let me clarify that that was the excuse which many people used, the promoters, the academic administrators, to raise their fees for the students and programs. IIMs are no exception, IITs are no exception, all the institutes of distinction which Professor Agrawal mentioned are no exception. They took this pretext and they did it. Whereas the total cost of a program, if you look at the salary and wages, in good institutions, it is never more than 1/5 of the total budget. And it should not be that. The rest of it is infrastructure, which is running quality. Library books, in 3 years, most of them become outdated. If I have a new edition coming of electrical engineering book for the first semester student or third semester student, in 2 to 3 years time, a new edition comes and the old edition becomes a scrap, trash actually. So those expenses are bigger one. And that again is not more than 15 to 20% of the total budget. So two main costs are not more than 40%. What is the 60% there? That is for inefficiency and for hubris of other people. It's not ego, it is not pride, it is hubris. So the kind of wasteful expenses which are happening in the deemed universities and other educational institutions is the part we must understand. We must develop a conscientious approach to that one. Then what will happen is your acquisition will partly be addressed. The fees will come down, and whatever fees is there, it will be rational fees. And the moment is rational fees, then nobody minds that one. Let me tell you, because there is return on that investment and it becomes scientific. So these are the two sides of your question. I hope it is clear.
Thank you very much, Professor Saran. But I must tell you that you have used very, very harsh words. But the reality, that is the beauty of our program. We want whatsoever the reality, one should know whether positive or negative. But he has mentioned and he says that the rates, what they are charging or the charges are quite high, which can be reduced by increasing the efficiency. Thank you very much. Now, my question goes to Professor Agrawal. Professor Agrawal, there is a question that the deemed to be universities offer no decent job prospects like other universities. And the thing is, they say that the deemed universities, that they are not good when it comes to getting placed in a good organization once the course is completed. The general misconception is that putting a student through a course in a deemed university would not yield satisfactory dividends in terms of a career or post-degree higher studies, contrary to this thing. Now, we would like to know your views whether this equation is correct or not, that the deemed universities offer no decent job. Professor Dr. Agrawal, please. Please unmute. Please unmute, Professor Agrawal.
Sorry. Let me clarify one thing, that placement has got no meaning with the type of university. Few years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, or just before Corona, the placement scenario in the country was that the companies were coming to the campus and they were recruiting the students. And we used to hear that some under table transaction takes place between the HR department of the company and the university or the college or so. Just here, I'll give you one more real story. When I was with BIT Mesra, and I'm talking of 2003, I met one of the HR man of the Infosys. And I asked him that when I see your selection process, you come to the campus and you just give some reasoning test, quantitative test, some English words, and you select the students in bulk. How do you actually judge the students? So he was very frank and he said, sir, we don't do any selection. We come to the colleges with few information. Number one, how do you take admission? Whether it is through national test, whether it is through state test. And the second is, what is the pass percentage of your final year students? That how many get first class, how many get distinction, how many get second class, and so on. Because in between is the process which the university or the college is doing, that they are teaching, they are making the students knowledgeable. So he said, sir, but ये दो information मिल जाता है, हम लोग उसके बाद college select करके और number fix कर लेते हैं. Nowadays, after 2003, today is 2021. Nowadays, all the placement is on a national test, online test. So unless and until my students are imparted good knowledge, they will never get placed, be it IIT, be it NIT, be it a deemed university or a private university. So the focus has shifted totally from so-called HR-driven placement to the knowledge-driven placement. I am in United University for last about 1.5 months, before that GLA. And we saw it that the placement percentages varied a lot now. Coming back to the acquisition, see, in every system, there will be few who will not be serious. And particularly if it is a private-driven system. But let me make you very clear that they will not survive in this long run. If your placements are not good, if your approach towards placement is not good, that you are making your students learn soft skills, personality development, and all those things, you will not survive in the world. And today I can give you some figures, of course, that many deemed universities are struggling to get admission because the news about their activities, placement, and other things are known to everyone. Nowadays, you can't hide. You can't write number 1 in the state, number 2 in the state. People ask so many questions. Not only your website, but so many other websites are coming which are giving information. So placement now, any serious person, even if he is in affiliated system, he is giving a lot of thoughts. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Professor Agrawal. And Professor Agrawal has very clearly mentioned about how the placement used to take place in 2003 and now. So according to him, yes, there are some scope of this allegations are there, but he says if the contents are good, the education system, they have given a good course and curriculum, then there is no problem of the placement. Thank you very much, Professor Agrawal. Now my question goes to Professor Sudhi Saran. Again, a question. Deemed to be universities offer fake degrees. There is a question, a perception among large section of the population that degrees conferred by deemed universities are not of any value. And if they are not of value, then no point in enrolling them. What Professor Agrawal is saying that it's very difficult nowadays for the admission, the deemed to university. Now, one of the equation, do you agree with this, Professor Saran?
I think there is a lot of misunderstanding here, and that is regulatory system is adequate here. If they do their job properly, then there is no way a deemed university can continue with the practice of fake degrees for any length of time. 1 year, 2 years, somebody can design a hollow program which does not have any market demand. That is possible. I can have a funny kind of a postgraduate degree or a diploma or certificate course under deemed university because I have the autonomy. to design syllabus, to have my examination, to award the degree. But you see, the exact fake thing is not possible. Those people are caught. As Professor Anmohan Agrawal said, more than 30, 40 of them were caught. Their names are displayed on a website. The conscientious students and parents can see these are theirs. So not only fake, the whole institution is also actually phony. So we should not take a broad brush and paint entire deemed university community with that one. Those are real black sheep. There are ways to catch them. There are ways to display it. We should be cautious, apply due diligence, as we say. This is what my contention is.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Saran. Now, my last question goes to Professor Agrawal. Professor Agrawal, one side, the autonomy to design own course is there with the deemed to be university. The other side, the National Education Policy 2020 and NEP, it says entry and exit, multiple entry and exit, and you can exit and you take the credit and you can join the other university at any given time. But if you are designing different courses, the syllabus and the curricula, then how don't you think it's a contrary for the NEP? What you say about this, Professor?
No, sir. You see, again, as Sudhir ji had said, that we have to follow the minimum requirements. If I am making a mechanical engineer, if I am teaching electrical engineering, then I have to follow a minimum. AICT has given a 160 credit model syllabus. UGC has given model syllabus for practically everything. So Bar Council, National Medical Commission, everyone has given a minimum. The only thing which differs here is mostly in the terms of electives, that what type of electives we are offering, because the UGC has given, AICT also gives a freedom that you can offer electives depending on the need of the industry. The second thing is that if my course curriculum is well accepted in the job market, why my student will go to other place? Thirdly, whenever any credit transfer is given, then in every university, there is a evaluation committee which goes through the syllabus, which goes through the grading system of the earlier university. And then accordingly, they decide that, yes, if it is more than 80% compatible, then only they take it. Otherwise, they say that you have to redo it with us. If you permit me, I'll just go back to the previous question because I'm, so just 1 second, sir.
Yeah.
The thing is that when you talk about the deemed universities, let us be very clear that any university, if it awards fake degree, it will be challenged in the court. And let me tell you, UGC has been very, very ruthless. One university in Meghalaya, one university in Rajasthan were closed permanently because they were giving fake degrees. And nowadays, we have to upload every information in the AISHE portal. So we cannot avoid that. Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. So viewer, you have seen today the advantages of deemed universities. And both our experts have given very, very clear verdict that the advantages are vast because of their autonomous nature, because of the high talent, and because the faculty, although there are few shortcomings like more charges, the fees structure is there, but because they want the top talent to be there as a faculty, and the faculty is nowadays charging the same what is there in the other universities, and because of the 7th pay commission or the 8th pay commission, the charges are the fees is the salary structure is so high in the central and state universities, then deemed to be universities has to pay. But one thing is very clear, according to both the experts, that the advantage is far more. And they says that because they have the autonomy, they can select those things which definitely prescribed by the UGC or AICT or MCI, but they have freedom to put it in such a way that the standard is increasing. And our experts have given the verdict that in a decade or so, the Indian education system will be competing with all the international education system, which is a very, very positive note. And myths are there. So much, so many things are happening in the media, but one should understand the government is taking very, very strong actions. The UGC and the AICT, they are taking strong actions. Black sheeps are there everywhere in the society, but if the actions are taking, so don't go for only the negativity, go for the positivity, and the positivity is there. The advantages of deemed to be universities are there, and one must see, yes, you can do the research before joining any of the university. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Caru News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day new topic in media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Tomorrow, the topic is people, planet, and profit in business. And our panelists are Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, President, Indo-Gulf Management Association, Dubai; Dr. Madhu Datta Koishler, President and Chief Green Officer, the Greener Health Company, and Associate Professor of Practice, Boston University, USA; Professor Professor Washington Mokokocho, Business and Management, University of West London, London, UK; and Miss Minky Knoll, CEO, Turnip Education, Dubai, UAE. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhi Saran, and thank you very much,
Thank you.
Professor
Thank you.
Dr. A.M. Agrawal, for joining
Thank
and
you,
giving your
very
very, very expert
Thank you.
views. And I'm sure all our viewers are enlightening today. Thank you, all the viewers, for watching our
Thank
show.
you.
Thank you very much.